Now to politics, where the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, has parted ways with his campaign manager, Corey Lewandwoski. Trump's campaign released a statement today saying the Donald J. Trump campaign for president, which has set a historic record in the Republican primary, having received almost 14 million votes, has today announced that Corey Lewandwoski will no longer be working with the campaign. The campaign is grateful to Corey for his hard work and dedication, and we wish him the best in the future. Lewandwoski was with the Trump campaign from the very beginning, but repeatedly made news by clashing with reporters and other campaign officials. The move comes as Trump has taken heat for his response to the recent terror attack in Orlando. On Sunday, on Face the Nation, John Dickerson asked Mr. Trump what he thought about increasing the profiling of Muslims in America. Here's what he said.
Well, I think profiling is something that we're going to have to start thinking about as a country, and other countries do it. And you look at Israel and you look at others, and they do it, and they do it successfully. And, you know, I hate the concept of profiling, but we have to start using common sense, and we have to use, our heads.
All right, joining me in Washington is John Allen, a columnist with Roll Call, and Kevin Sheridan, communications director for Paul Ryan during his 2012 presidential campaign. He's also the founder of the Sheridan Media Group. Thank you both for joining us. John, to you first. What are you hearing about how this went down? There are a lot of reports out there now. There are some reports suggesting that Donald Trump's children may have been involved in the decision to get rid of Corey Lewandwoski. There's also reports out there that he didn't even know it was coming, even though it seems like it was the worst kept secret in Washington.
Well, that's a good indication of how far out of the loop you are when you don't see the bullet that's meant for you. Of course, rhetorical bullet I'm talking about here, or strategic bullet here I'm talking about. Look, Corey Lewandwoski clashed with the people that Donald Trump brought in to run his campaign as professionals, people who had been part of the Republican furniture in Washington for a long time. He clashed with reporters. He clashed with members of the Trump organization that had been there for a long time. There was a GQ article that came out this morning in which he had, thrown profanity. He denied it, but basically had shouted profanities at Hope Hicks, who's the spokeswoman for Donald Trump. This is somebody who had a hard time getting along with anyone and who clearly wasn't equipped to run a national campaign at the level of a presidential nominee. It's not surprising that he's gone. What's more surprising is that it took so long.
And so the question I think that is on a lot of people's mind, Kevin, is how bad of a sign is it to remove your campaign manager in June with less than 150 days or so until the election? I mean, it's been done before. We know that Ronald Reagan at one point did it, but this doesn't look good.
Well, in a normal year, it would be big news, and it would be pretty shocking, I think, to the political world and the public in general that, at this point, your campaign is still not, in a place where it can actually take on a general election and perform in a high level. But this year, it's kind of different than everything. So I think a lot of us, could see Corey getting thrown under the bus at some point, that it happened in this way at this time when Donald Trump's campaign is cratering right now in the polls, especially in the swing states. He's got organizational problems. And frankly, whoever you put at the top of the campaign is not going to change the candidate's problems. The candidate is flawed. He's not listening to anyone, it sounds like, either his staff or maybe his family has finally gotten to him. But there's fundamental flaws in this candidate, and I think whoever you put in that job is still going to face those same problems.
Yeah, Kevin, that is the question, right? I mean, and you have experience running a national campaign. Obviously, Corey Lewandwoski was able to get Trump this far. What does he need, though, in a campaign manager? Let's just say that which is what people have been saying all along, is what he's going to attempt to do, which is to become a more traditional type of a candidate. What does he need in a campaign manager?
Well, he's going to need organizational infrastructure, and it remains to be seen whether or not Paul Manafort, who is a professional, he's got experience going back to the 70s in Republican politics, whether or not he can actually bring people in that have relevant experience that can actually get this thing going at this late date is a big open question. I think June, the middle of June, to not have organization in place in the states to take on what the Democrats have and have been planning for years. and we know how good their campaign is going to be at getting out their votes, I think is a really, really tough challenge for him, and I think he starts way behind the 8 ball on this.
All right, John, so to Kevin's point, couple of things. Donald Trump is struggling in the polls. A new Monmouth poll out today shows Trump trailing Hillary Clinton by 7%. As Kevin pointed out, to me, it sort of seems like it doesn't really matter who you have running the campaign if you've spent the last month or so talking about a judge who's deciding a personal case that you have, in this case with Trump University. If you talk about crowing about the terrorist attack in Orlando, how right you were on Twitter, which seemed to have turned off a lot of people. It is the candidate, right? I mean, at the end of the day, Donald Trump is the one that's standing front and center. Doesn't matter who you have running the campaign if he's going to be off message all the time.
Yeah, he's like a magnetic iceberg, and the campaign is like the Titanic with whoever's at the wheel. It doesn't really matter because it's being drawn toward that iceberg. He's somebody who has, as you pointed out, been distracted by things and created distractions for himself that aren't helpful with particular interest groups. He's somebody who has failed to raise money for the general election, who has failed to make good relationships with Republicans who could be out there helping him on the campaign trail. I'll give you a perfect example. Vice President Joe Biden's about to go out there and hit Trump for Hillary Clinton. We've seen President Obama, whose approval rating is now at 53%. It's been rising of late, going out there and hitting Trump. Elizabeth Warren's going out there and hitting Trump. Bernie Sanders will soon be hitting Trump. And what Trump has in his party right now is a lot of people who aren't willing to hook themselves to him. All of it has been negative, for the last month or so for Trump. And he doesn't look like he's particularly interested in figuring out how to right that ship.
Kevin, let me ask you then about your former boss, Paul Ryan. I mean, he's clearly endorsed Donald Trump. He said as much, but he's also walked away from some of the more inflammatory remarks that Donald Trump has made. And at one point, he told the rest of the party that they should vote their conscience. So what's the message that he's trying to send here, do you think, Paul Ryan?
I think the message he's sending is pretty clear that, look, Donald Trump is a very unique kind of candidate. This is a very different kind of year. As the Speaker of the House and as the highest-ranking Republican elected official, he's got a special job that he needs to do to not actively oppose the nominee of our party, or the presumptive nominee of our party. So what he's doing is telling people that they should go out, they should support him if they can, but if they cannot, and it depends on how he continues to campaign, just run your own races, and we'll try to hold on to the Senate and the House as much as possible. Donald Trump doesn't seem to really want Republican support, honestly. I mean, he goes back and forth on it, but most of the time he's still railing against Republicans who aren't supporting him and or have very tepid criticism of anything he says. So, Paul Ryan is in a very difficult spot here, and he's making the best of a tough spot. And we'll see how long this goes on.
But Kevin, let me ask you: if Donald, I'm going to ask you to speculate a little here. If Donald Trump loses the general election because he doesn't have the support of the infrastructure, the Republican infrastructure, because Paul Ryan has said, go ahead and vote your conscience, does the GOP get blamed for his loss?
I have no doubt that Donald Trump will have a long list of people he's going to blame when if he loses. He doesn't seem to take responsibility for anything ever. So I don't think you're gonna get a lot of introspection and reflection at the end of this thing. But if he, the Republican Party has done what it needs to do. The RNC is fully behind him. The Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader have both come out and said they endorse him and support him. It was his job in the time between the end of the primaries and the time that we're in now and the convention to consolidate support in the Republican Party. He has largely failed to do so because he's been distracted and doing other things, talking about judges' heritage and his own Trump University case and just making outrageous claims and statements constantly. Where Republicans don't, what else are Republicans supposed to do at this point? Anybody who, offers any kind of criticism of him gets slammed by him. Anybody who tries to correct him in any way, he doesn't want their support. So, look, this is where we are. It's not a fully united party, and it probably never will be.
John, not only are Trump's poll numbers slipping, but with just under 150 days to go, his numbers are worse than any Republican going back 3 election cycles. He's polling worse than George W. Bush in 2004, John McCain in 2008, Mitt Romney in 2012. Even if he gets on board right now and he starts to spend on ads, he hires up. I mean, I've looked at Hillary Clinton's numbers. She's got something like 800 people on staff where Trump has less than 40 people. But even if he does decide to staff up, even if he does start spending on ads, can he catch up?
We've got a lifetime, many lifetimes in this political cycle before it's all said and done. The thing that Donald Trump has to focus on right now, and I'm not sure that he's capable of it or interested in it, is basically getting himself on track and starting to at least say things that are coherent from one day to the next, have a message, have a platform, get something that Republicans can unify around. Democrats have an electoral advantage heading in. The states that they have won for the last 6 election cycles add up to 242 electoral votes. That means add in Florida and they win the election. So they don't even have to win a lot of swing states to do it. Clinton is a candidate who is not nearly as popular as most Democratic nominees are, and at the same time, she, as you showed in that poll, has a 7-point lead there. We've seen it as much as 12 points in the last few days, and depending on the poll that you're looking at. Donald Trump has time to make a change, but I'm not sure that he's capable of it.
Fascinating discussion. John Allen and Kevin Sheridan, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Take care,
you.
Vlad.